afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the top there. County Commission Chambers. It is 4 p.m. on Tuesday, October 19th, 2021, and we will bring this Personnel Human Services Committee meeting to order. If we could, roll call.
Johnson?
Here.
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 Radke?
Here.
Krieger?
I'm here.
All right, thank you. Now, the first order of business are the minutes from September 21st, 2021.
Support.
Moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, and now comes the opportunity for our meeting for public input. If anyone would like to address the board from the public, step forward, your name and address. It appears as though there is no one at this time, so we'll move on to petitions and communications. And the first order of business is from the Bay County Treasurer, staff accountant vacancy, seeking authorization to post/fill a full-time staff accountant vacancy.
So moved.
Has been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Not seeing any. We will go ahead. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. We'll move on to item B. The Michigan Works, Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works interlocal agreements.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioner Coonan, supported by Commissioner Begic. Is there any discussion?
You had anything to say?
Yep.
All right, Ms.
I'd like to
Yes,
thank you,
Commissioner.
Mr. Chair. So Vaughn sits on that board, and I know that there was some issues going on, and maybe you could give us an update of where we're at with it.
Mr. Herrick's on there also, and
But he asked you.
okay.
You got seniority.
Yes. So,
Your opinion.
there's been some discussion going on, and we're sort of waiting for the Department of Labor has been sort of taking a look at the pension issues, and for the time, it looks like it's the same agreement that we've had before, so we're sort of recommending that we go along with the current one. If we don't agree to it, then they may have to close the door January 1st. People won't be able to find jobs, things like that. So we think we recommend moving forward and then see what the Department of Labor has to say later on.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, so it's basically a copy of what we've done in the past.
Same one.
And the issues with Saginaw and everything is
It's a matter of he said. There's a difference of opinion, and any laws sometimes have nuances and are not clear, so there's been a discussion about some of the pension rulings, and that's what the Department of Labor is looking at, so they'll make a decision.
Okay. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. Thank you. Any other discussion?
You're okay.
Yes, sir.
Kristen Wenzel is here. I don't know if she wanted to say anything, or she preferred not to, she says.
You did a good job.
Nod and smile. All right, good job. All right, seeing as how there's no more discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll move on to item D. Actually, I'm sorry, item C. Almost skipped over one, A, B, C. It's almost like I teach elementary school. All right, so item C, this one comes from the Director of Environmental Affairs and Community Development about a release of bid solicitations.
I'll move it.
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioner Krieger, supported by Commissioner Radke. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, well, we'll move on to item D now. This one comes from the Equalization Director, the waiver of county certification level for Equalization Director.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Coonan, supported by Commissioner Herrick. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now we'll move on to item E from the Personnel Director. Under item E, number 1, is a reorganization of the community corrections seeking to initiate a process to transfer oversight and supervision of the Community Corrections Office from the Department of Child Care Services to the Office of Bay County Sheriff. Been moved by Commissioner Herrick,
Support.
supported by Commissioner Coonan. Any discussion? Commissioner Coonan.
Thank you, sir. I think in the past month or so, we approved something regarding the community corrections as well. Now, the whole purpose of this is to provide a better service to the public through these employees. And I think we added a person, or we're going to add a person for that, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'd just recommend passage. I know we've met several times with Julie Reynolds, the director of the juvenile home, and the sheriff, Troy Cunningham, and it's a much better place to be under the sheriff's department as they do all of the testing for drug and alcohol. People who have had issues with alcohol and DUIs to get tested. So thanks to you, they've added a staff person to catch up with the backlog that they've had, as well as, and also a huge demand for it. But it probably is a much better placement for that office to be under the sheriff's department than it is under Public Act 139. And everyone's in agreement, so if you concur,
And
we'd
probably
appreciate it.
safer for the community as well, being that we're able to keep.
Probably. I'm not sure if there's a public safety issue, but we rarely encounter the staff because they work in behind the doors of the sheriff's department, and all of the testing goes on there. And of course, the director of the juvenile home, it's really distant from her office, so she was concurring that it more appropriately belongs under the sheriff's department.
Commissioner Krieger.
So the funding for this position stuff, that's all coming out of our general fund, or is there grant money involved also?
But
There's a small amount of grant funds, but it doesn't cover for all of it. So it is general fund and grant funds.
yeah, I think half
together.
grant and half general, I think. right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I think from what I understood, it was that a lot of these processes were already taking place at the sheriff's office, so it just made sense to then shift some of that funding over to that place where he would have oversight, seeing as how all the processes were happening there already.
That's correct.
All right. Any other discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Item number 2, under E, from the Personnel Director, is the reclassification requests seeking board approval of recommended reclassifications effective January 1st, 2022.
So moved.
Support. Moved by Commissioner Coonan, supported by Commissioner Herrick. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question. Can someone tell me more about that process? What prompts a reclassification? Or what criteria needs to be met to have someone reclassified?
I can answer that question. Depending on the collective bargaining agreements, the qualifications for reclassification are a little bit different. Under the B-Camps collective bargaining agreement, they have to meet 3 specific criteria that is laid out in the collective bargaining agreement, and that's that the knowledge, skills, and abilities have increased substantially, that it is improperly classified with another position within Bay County, or 2 jobs became 1, and 40% of the new job was at a higher classification. Those are the 3 ways that they can qualify to apply for a reclassification. If they meet that threshold, there's a point system in the county classification process that you go through, and you do associate the points with education experience and hazards and the different things that go with each job.
Okay.
The employee makes the application to the union, and the union presents it to the employer on their behalf once a year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and then item number 3, a variety of vacancies. 911 Central Dispatch, Department on Aging, a typist clerk, a handyman, Sheriff's Office, Correctional Facility Officer, Finance Department, and Account Clerk, and Recreation and Facility Community Center typist and clerk.
So moved.
Support?
Been moved by Commissioner Herrick, supported by Commissioner Radke. Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. And opposed? All right. That is the end of our petitions and communications. I do not see any referrals. Do we have any unfinished business? There's none listed. Any new business that anyone would like to bring? Did you want to speak?
If I may.
Sure, come on up. There's a spot for Miscellaneous. You look like Miscellaneous, that's fine.
Thank you. Mrs. Miscellaneous. Thank you. Yes, under Petitions and Communications, if I may, I had requested seeking board approval to release 3 bids. We've been preparing them early, thinking that once we got them through the process, purchasing and legal review, that they would be able to go out. And then we were notified that they can't go out until the budget's approved. This would be for mosquito control, as well as gypsy moth that has an annual millage funding. Without knowing when that budget's going to be approved, we'd like to just keep moving this process forward. Most of those bids, all of the bids are written so that if there is no money, there is no work. It just doesn't move forward. The contract, it's in the bid document itself, and so we would like to see if we can move this thing forward. It's just kind of a timeliness matter than any budgetary thing.
Anything else? Go ahead, Commissioner Cooner.
Laura, in reading some of the background material, it looked like it was stated that pilots are becoming few and far between. And I would think that hopefully we'll get some more pilots because, it's supply and demand. So if we have fewer pilots, probably the costs would go up.
We are anticipating some increased costs just due to the chemicals, both for mosquito control as well as gypsy moth. But keeping in mind, things change. Regulatory speaking, for a commercial pilot, FAA has, greater insurance notifications that they want. They have better, greater requirements for just aircraft in general. And so it is one of those situations where there are fewer, as well as, especially for gypsy moth, right now we have an explosion in this area. Communities that have never done gypsy moth and don't have a gypsy moth program are now developing. Aranac just passed a millage this past year, so they're taking new steps to contract for gypsy moth aerial spray treatment. In fact, our former program manager, Alicia Wallace, has been up in Mount Morenci for this past 6 months developing a gypsy moth program up there because of the problems that they're seeing. But Gladwin, Midland, communities who haven't necessarily done aerial spray in the past are doing it this year. And because, normally, there would be enough pilots, or they would take a contract for Midland, they might do Bay County, but timing is so particular that we want to make sure we're securing those services before anybody else does, so that, because treatment has to occur at a pretty particular window, and that's why we're asking for this. But yes, it's declined, there are fewer and greater demand.
Laura, and when's that window approximately?
That is weather dependent. Typically, it happens in early spring, but that's why both programs, in fact, both programs, but it's also for emerald ash borer, gypsy moth, as well as mosquitoes. There is staff out in the field monitoring, because if you have cooler temperatures, that'll set it back, but if you have greater, moisture, that'll move it forward. So, but typically early spring, and again, some of this may be concurrent between gypsy moth and mosquitoes.
Right. And so just if someone happens to be watching this on YouTube at some point, this is all in regards to item C that we went through previously. But if I was to that's okay. If I was to understand it correctly and use my regular old person sort of try and make sure I summarize it appropriately. So basically what you're asking is, ordinarily, the circumstances, the routines, and the things that usually happen is you wouldn't be looking to be able to take these bids until your budget was approved. And the budget approval process hasn't happened yet. But at this time, you know that it's difficult to be able to secure services and get contracts with people because the number of people you need to be able to get and solicit from is much smaller. So all you're really looking for is an opportunity to be able to solicit these bids before the budget is okayed, knowing full well that there's a millage that's, as soon as the budget's okay, the millage pays for all of it anyway.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
All right.
And
So-
these are, I would add, these are multi-year contracts, so 3 years, so 4 years, we may be back in the same spot.
Yeah.
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anything else for miscellaneous? Any announcements?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Creedy.
move to adjourn.
There is a move to adjourn, and there is a support from Commissioner Begic. Oh, wait, 1 second.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
This needed board approval.
It did.
Yeah, we're getting ready. I think we're gonna have a meeting as soon as.
No, I'm
as
sorry.
soon-
It
as
needed
soon
to
as
go
he
through the
gets his
committee. I'm sorry, I didn't
adjournment
realize it.
You were 2 minutes late, Laura.
Yeah, okay, I got it. All right, thank you very much.
done. Stick around though, but I'm pretty sure it'll probably go okay. All right, so we have adjournment. It has been supported. Any discussion? No? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? There we go.